What it do, Kyo crew? It's your boy Kyo Tome, and we're back for a Genshin Impact build video. Now today, we're focusing on Noelle, and the build I'm running for her is my healer slash tank build, aka Paladin. So without further ado, if you're new, make sure to subscribe, like if you enjoy, and comment down below. Let me know what you think or any improvements that you may have personally. Alrighty, now as far as what we're going to be focusing on here is we'll go to the weapon, which is the white blind, which has a defense main stat of 47.2%, which is really good because her breastplate ability, which I'll discuss here in a minute, is based on her defense. And then as far as the artifacts for the healing and be able to maximize the healing, we are running the Maiden Beloved set for her. Now as far as the main stats that I focus on here would be the defense and then the HP, just because you know she is a tank, and then also the healing bonus as well. I personally recommend the white blind, which you can get from crafting with the blacksmith, because it does increase the defense by 6%, which does help with the breastplate, which I'm about to discuss here in a moment. With the artifacts here, I do recommend the Maiden Beloved because it does increase the healing effectiveness of where the 2-piece, and if you have the 4-piece and you do elemental skill or burst, it does increase the healing that's received by all party members for 20% for 10 seconds. So that's really good. Now as far as constellations, I don't personally have any, but the constellation that I would recommend would be the I Got Your Back, which would just take one dupe, which would increase the healing to 100% chance instead of where I personally have it at, which is 55% at level 6 here, as you see underneath the skill attribute. Now the main thing you're going to focus on here is the breastplate ability. What it does is it creates the protective stone armor, which I did at the beginning, which created a crystal, which does damage the enemies around you with geo damage, and the amount of damage it can absorb is based on the amount of defense that Noelle does have at the time. So from what you can see here, the amount of healing she's going to be doing is going to be about 30% plus 163, 30% of the defense plus 163. So right now, with what I have it at, which would be 1675 if I'm not mistaken, about 30% of that would be, so we're going to do, it's going to be about around like 6,000, 5 to 6,000, or 5 to 6,000, excuse me. It's going to be around about 500, 5 to 600 plus 163, so you're looking anywhere, we'll just say from 6 to 800. And there's going to be about every other hit you're going to be able to trigger the healing. And it does last for 12 seconds with a cooldown of 24, so technically you would only have about a cooldown of 12 seconds. Now the real cool thing about it is it does have a chance, you know, with being a geo character, to drop a crystal, which does give you an elemental absorption shield for a certain amount of damage or time. So that kind of does help with the cooldown, so where pretty much you will have some sort of shield on at all times. Now without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive in here to the Valley of Remembrance, where you can actually get the gear set of the Maiden Beloved for this build if you choose to run this build. Now this is the team that I personally recommend. I use Venti for the crowd control to be able to keep them locked in place and kind of not being able to move, and then I use Jingling and Fischl pretty much just for the elemental damage, and where they constantly able to have that out to be able to just keep that going and being able to just keep that extra little bit of damage and also have a chance to help me with dropping the crystals for the elemental resistance buff shields. Alright, I do see here that she's lost a little bit of health. We're going to let her lose a little bit more. Now what I personally recommend with this team is what I like to do is I will go ahead and try to run Venti. Like I said, just so I can be able to crowd control, gather them up. Drop G-Ling, Official, and then from there, it's just kind of a fair game for Noelle. One thing you can do with her, if you really need to heal, is be able to do that. But you guys may or may not have noticed, she does heal for about 1,000 right now, with her being at 1675. So just kind of keep that in mind later on, you know, higher level when you have mainly defense. Just imagine how crazy your shield will be and the potential for the healing as well. Now, if you're personally struggling on this, I would personally recommend to choose one and just kind of stick with them, because trying to fight them both at the same time does kind of, you know, have its issues. Now, personally, what I would recommend would be to fight the invisible guy if possible first, just because he isn't able to teleport, everything of that nature. Don't have to worry about wasting hits, and you know, if you're trying to heal with Noelle using the breastplate, he's pretty much gonna stay there fighting you. Gotcha. Alright, so we're gonna set that up. And everybody's kind of lost a little bit of health, so at this time,
think you can get away? Over here.
right there, as you can see, shield was at about 2k and went up to 12k by the time the breastplate was over, and she was left with the electrical crystal shield as well to be able to kind of help me through the rest of the battle. She's really good for a tank, you know, if you guys weren't lucky and, you know, pulled the Luke, or, I can't think of that one guy's name, starts with a C, the ice tank. But pretty much if you weren't able to pull them, it's definitely a good one to have if you're not really good at, like, countering or timing things, and you're just more of, like, kind of, like, running into the battlefield. Especially with this build, because you won't really have to worry about being able to take a lot of damage. Now, if you do happen to have a healer that's really good, then you know that just kind of adds on to it, and then you could kind of use a different build to kind of just mainly focus on the amount of damage she does and not really the amount of healing that she does. But without further ado, this is pretty much where we're going to end it. Make sure that you know, like the video if you enjoyed. Let me know down below what you guys think and everything of that nature. And then subscribe if you're new. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and catch you guys here in the next one. And without further ado, like I always say, don't worry, Be happy. Until next time, guys.